Welcome to the Empowered Mind podcast with Joelle and Natalie Rivera. We are on a never-ending quest to master the power of our mind, develop a growth mindset, and explore the leading edge of positive psychology and human potential so we can take radical personal responsibility for creating our destinies and reaching our potential. So, do you suffer from FOMO or fear of missing out?
And that's actually a term. It's not something that we're just making up right now. There's a lot of people that suffer from FOMO. It's an actual term. And really what happens is that we have a psychological need to feel like we're in the know. And people ask why people conform. So if you're in a situation and you see people doing things that they would not normally do, part of it is because they feel like people know more than them, so they follow the herd. You know, if you heard of the word sheeple, see, this is why it happens, right? So part of this is that tech companies actually take advantage of the way that our mind works. And the way that our mind works is that we want to be in the know. So that's why we check our Facebook, we check our Twitter, we check our social media to see who's posted what, to see how many people like what we did, to see what's happening in trending or something that we're interested in, because we want to be in the know. Maybe we even watch a show that we hate, or we pay attention to a sport that we're not even that interested in, so we can go back to work and feel like we're in the know. So it's fear of not knowing drives a lot of our behaviors.
And so unfortunately, the side effect of this is that we spend all this time on social media or other forms of media to try to make sure we're not missing out on anything, but it's taking away from the time that we could be spending doing the things that we value more than things like social media. So ironically, we're actually missing out on real life because we're living in this virtual world.
And actually, it can happen even in our daily life. Maybe someone invites us to a get-together that we don't really want to go to, but we fear missing out on something. Maybe something spectacular, magical will happen. So maybe I have to go. When you really want to dedicate that time to maybe working on your passion, your dreams, or something else that you really want to develop on your journey. So the fact is that you have a choice, that when you're missing out, when you feel like you're missing out, and if you're checking your phone every 10 minutes or every 5 minutes or even every minute, you're really missing out on the things that you could do. And statistics show that we spend so much time like in social media and watching movies and TV and things like that on entertainment, on that side of it, that we can literally spend as much time as someone that's in high school spends in a whole school year within a year. So just think about that. You might have a full-time job, and then you spend a whole school year on social media. And that's what's crazy. What else could you do during that time? What if you have a dream, a desire, something that you want to accomplish? What if you dedicated even half of that time to doing that? Because you got to realize that you're not just missing out if you're not checking up on your social media, but you're missing out on life.
And so we get asked all the time how we do all the things that we do. And at one point in our lives, we were running 5 different businesses. And today we still get asked, even though we spend a lot more time at the beach, people ask us, how do you have time to be, taking your walks on the beach and, going on a trip somewhere when you have so much responsibility? And the answer is that we're not spending hours and hours a day on social media and watching television and whatever else it is that most people do because they're afraid of missing out. And the reason why this works for us is not only because we're not wasting our time on those things, but also because we're very clear about what we actually want out of our lives. And so our fear of missing out is fearing on missing out on those things that we actually want, rather than the fear of missing out, feeling like we have to get that need met, with whatever is popular or trending at the moment. Our missing out would be missing out on our lives, not everybody else's.
So keep this in mind. So how do you change that? You have to have intentions. You have to have goals. You have to have things that you want to accomplish. And then after you decide, what do I really want to experience? What am I missing out on my life? What am I missing that I want to create that I could create if I dedicated enough time to it? And then actually develop strategies behind that. So what steps am I going to take today instead of checking my Facebook? You might say, well, I only check my Facebook, for example, for 5 or 10 minutes. What can I do during that time? And actually at one point in my life, I made this full commitment of what I could do if I just spend those 5 or 10 minutes doing something else. Whether I was learning something, so I downloaded apps so I can learn something in particular that I wanted. I spent some time listening to audiobooks. So every 5 to 10 minutes that I had, I would listen to that audiobook. And that's really how I was able to develop so many aspects of my life, because I dedicated it to the things that I wanted to learn. Or maybe I would do research on something that I needed to learn to get to that next step. So I took those 5 to 10 minutes to help myself grow, so I wouldn't miss out on my life.
And so the truth is that social media companies and other media companies are spending millions or even billions of dollars on developing apps and programs and advertising that is designed to take advantage of this bias in the human brain, to fear missing out and to be looking for that instant gratification of feeling like they're in the know. And so if you don't take the time to sit down and really reflect on what you want to be spending your time and attention on in your life, then they're going to suck that attention away from you because they're really good at it. This stuff is addictive, and it's that way by its design. And so it's really that we are calling you to be more intentional with your life. And instead of falling victim to this bias to be afraid of feeling like you're missing out on something going on in someone else's life, to turn it around on yourself and develop that fear of missing out on your own life.
So in other words, don't get rid of FOMO. Just flip the FOMO to being fear of missing out in your own life. Hope that helps.
Thank you, fellow Freedom Junkies, for listening. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe. And if you want to help us grow, please rate and share this podcast. You can also become a member of Freedom Nation. Visit freedomorbustpodcast.com and sign up to receive access to exclusive content and take the 21-day happiness challenge. As you know, we believe that entrepreneurship is the ultimate form of empowerment, which is why we created the Side Hustle Business Startup course for anyone looking to create their own income and take back their power. We offer an exclusive discount for our podcast listeners. Find out more at freedomorbustpodcast.com.